Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Electors General Meeting to consider the 2024/25 Annual Report, Financial Statements and Auditors Report. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and their elders past and present. I would like to advise everyone that the audio and video of this meeting is being live streamed to YouTube. I request everyone to please turn off your mobile phones. I remind you that audio recording of the meeting proceedings and photography within the chamber is prohibited unless prior approval has been granted, and councillors and city officers are requested to activate their microphones when addressing the meeting. So, with that, welcome. We move to item 1, which is the declaration of opening. I declare the Electors General Meeting open at 1 minute past 6 p.m. The format of tonight's meeting is as follows. I'll begin by presenting the highlights of the year. I'll then call for questions relating to the annual report, the annual financial statements and the auditor's report for the year ended 30 June 2025. I'll then seek a mover and a seconder to accept the 2024/25 City of South Perth Annual Report, Financial Statements and Auditors Report. And then finally, I'll open up the meeting for general business and allow questions followed by statements and motions from the public gallery. I would like to remind everyone this evening that only electors present at the meeting this evening are entitled to vote. If you're an elector, you don't have to vote, but all decisions this evening will be made by a simple majority of votes. Please note that copies of the annual report, financial statements and auditor's report were made available at the city's main administration buildings and libraries, and there are also copies available for this evening. That's item 1. We move on to item 2, which is attendances. Councillor Hayley Prendeville is an apology for tonight, and Councillor Stephen Russell is on a leave of absence for the period of 1 February 2026 to 22 February 2026 inclusive. That brings us to item 3, which is announcements from the presiding member. That's me. So once again, good evening. Tonight we're here to present the 2024/25 annual report, the annual financial statements and the auditor's report to you, the electors. The 2024/25 financial year was one of strong financial performance, community achievements and key projects delivered over the financial year. The 2024/25 annual report, which was endorsed by Council last year, reflects the hard work of the city in achieving the community's aspirations as outlined in the Strategic Community Plan 2021 to 2031. I'm pleased to say that our financial health remains robust. Using the new state government's methodology, the Local Government Financial Indicator, the city achieved a score of 92 against the benchmark of 70 for the previous financial year. We also recorded our third consecutive operating surplus of $5,933,575 and an overall surplus of $4,913,058, which builds on the first operating surplus achieved back in 2022/23, and it allows the city to allocate more funds towards future asset renewal and strengthens our financial reserves. Importantly, we did that while delivering a modest rates increase of 3.4%, which was aligned with Perth inflation, and that marks the 6th consecutive year that we've kept rates either at or below the Perth CPI inflation rate. So, some of the highlights from the year include opening up the Manning bike track, featuring pump and jump tracks for all ages and abilities, delivering a vibrant program of cultural and civic events, including the South Perth Sounds Concert, our Southside Summer Fringe World events, NAIDOC Week and Remembrance Day services. We opened up 2 new enclosed dog parks and upgraded public toilets at Coma Reserve. We enhanced public spaces with decorative lighting and installed a new footbridge at Lake Douglas. The local heritage survey was updated to preserve culturally significant sites. We've been developing the Karrawara pedestrian and cycle access plan to improve connectivity and safety. We've commenced the waste to energy deliveries to the Kwinana Energy Recovery Facility, very much reducing our landfill use. A 40km/h speed limit was introduced on the South Perth Peninsula to improve road safety. The $19.8 million redevelopment of the Collier Park Golf Course was endorsed, and we engaged with the community on the urban greening strategy and adopted revised animal management laws. I want to thank the City Administration, my fellow councillors and former councillors for their tireless efforts in working towards a shared vision of a city of active places and beautiful spaces. And it's very much an honour and a privilege to serve our wonderful community on this council. And I'm sure I can speak for all the elected members when I say that we very much look forward to continuing our work with and for our community to deliver great outcomes for this wonderful city. Okay, that's the highlights from the previous financial year. Item 4 is reports of CEO, and item 4.1 is the annual report for 2024/25 and financial report. So first of all, we'll move on to questions in relation to the annual report, the annual financial statements or auditor's report for the year ended 30 June 2025. I have received one submission prior to the meeting, so I'd like to begin by inviting Mr. Frank Roach of South Perth, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Mr. Roach? No, Mr. Roach. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions that they'd like to ask in relation to the annual report, the annual financial statements, or the auditor's report for the previous financial year? Gone. That was easy. Okay. Well, in that case, I will move on to item 5, which is the presentation of the annual report. So I'm about to call for a mover and a... Okay, that was weird. A mover and a seconder to receive the 2024/25 annual report, annual financial statements and auditor's report. This is the suggested motion from the City Administration that the annual report for the year 2024/25, incorporating the 2024/2025 annual financial statements and the 2024/2025 auditor's report be received. Could I have a volunteer for a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Howling, but it's for the electors. I can't throw that one to elected members. Yes, Mr. Boardman, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the front at the microphone there, I will need you to state your name and address for the record.
Warwick Boardman, 20 Unwin Crescent, Soldier Point.
Thank you so much. So moved.
Congratulations to the council on such a fantastic result.
Thank you so much. I'll now look for a seconder. Is anyone willing to second the motion before us? Yes, Mr. Carlson, if you'd like to come to the microphone and state your name and address.
My name's Aidan Carlson. I live at 45 Barang Circuit in Karrawara, and I'd like to second the motion.
Thank you so much. So I'm about to put the motion to the vote, but before I do, I'll just remind everyone that only electors for the district may raise their hand. So with that, please raise your hand if you are in favour of the motion that should be on the screen. And I'll give everyone a few more seconds to read it. All right, thank you. And all those against, please raise your hands. All right, that was unanimous. Thank you all. That brings us to item 6, which is general business. We've received, it says 9, but I think there were 10 sets. No, we've already had one. Okay, yes. We've received 9 sets of questions prior to the meeting, which we'll deal with first. So I'd like to begin by inviting Mr. Aidan Carlson of Karrawara back to the microphone. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you. My apologies about using the mobile. I'll turn it off after this question, or after the two questions. So at the December council meeting, a councillor raised concerns regarding cost of living pressures experienced by many ratepayers within the City of South Perth. In light of these concerns and knowing both the current rate levels and the limited instalment options available to ratepayers who may experience cash flow constraints, I'm seeking clarification of the City's approach to payment flexibility and administration efficiency. So my question is this, could the City please outline what barriers, if any, exist to implementing fortnightly or monthly direct debit payment options for rates in order to better align with common income cycles and assist ratepayers experiencing cash flow pressures? The additional, sort of a three-parter, the additional processing costs per ratepayer associated with offering existing instalment arrangements, as well as any projected costs of introducing fortnightly or monthly direct debit options, and state whether when the City last reviewed and implemented efficiencies relating to the processing of rate instalments beyond the standard annual rates preparation.
Thank you for the question. Can I send that to Director Websdale?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Ratepayers can actually already set up their own recurring payment options, which can include fortnightly and monthly, by doing it with their bank, as long as any amount that's due is paid before the final due date. So I think that falls, so the additional processing fee is zero with that, and then obviously the third part of the question has been covered by the fact that it's already done.
Okay. So the additional costs for the instalments of for...
There is, if you set up a direct deposit, there is no additional fee on top. So you can set it up from your end with the bank.
When you... Sorry. But I know it's not meant to be back and forth, but I don't feel like my question's being answered.
Sorry, I'll just clarify again. It's already an available option to ratepayers. So you can already set up recurring payment options that can be on a fortnightly or monthly cycle by setting it up from your account end.
Yeah, that's one part of the question.
Yes, so that's the first part.
Yep.
The additional processing fee is, there isn't any additional processing fee because it's set up by your bank at your end, so there's no charge. And then the third part of the question is, state when we last reviewed it, it's already available.
Thank you, Ms Websdale. Second question, Mr Carlson.
Okay. Yep, thank you. So we have one of the major roosting sites for black cockatoos at Collier Golf Reserve course and into Collier Reserve and across Technology Park. These birds are facing extinction under our watch and may be gone in 15 to 20 years if we do nothing. Other local government areas have specific strategies in place to protect and provide habitat, food, trees and reliable water sources via numerous water sources for these significant and iconic birds. What's the City's long-term strategy for the protection of the endangered black cockatoos, including the key elements, and will the City be working closely with the research experts at Murdoch University to be across the latest information, strategies and risks for the black cockatoos? If not, why not, as they're one of the more notable experts in these species? And what's the estimated number of trees to be planted on City land specifically to provide for the black cockatoos in the 2025-2026 financial year?
Thank you for the question. Ms Amprimo, can I send that one to you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. So the City undertakes a number of initiatives in this respect, including we have installed a number of cocky troughs located throughout the city, including 2 at Collier Park Golf Course, 1 at Ryrie Reserve on Murray Street, and 1 at the city's operations centre on Thelma Street, which provides fresh drinking water throughout the year for the birds to access in a safe environment. The provision of food for black cockatoos through the annual tree planting programme, and we have a combination of a programme that replaces a number of the pines at Collier Park Golf Course, which are faster growing and provide a food source earlier, and also planting other native food source species. 2,332 plants and trees were planted throughout the city in a variety of sizes from 50mm tube stock to 35-litre trees. The city does rely on information and strategies from experts at universities and state government entities such as DBCA and DPIRD. Supporting community education initiatives by hosting presentations from researchers on the latest scientific findings relating to black cockatoo habitat use, movement patterns, breeding success and emerging threats, including habitat fragmentation, vehicle strike and the decline of key food sources. Exploring opportunities to collaborate with research experts from the city is exploring opportunities to collaborate with research experts from Murdoch University and to participate in the Keep Carnaby's Flying Forever project. This partnership would support existing on-ground initiatives, including targeted revegetation of black cockatoo habitat and the installation of watering drinking stations, as mentioned earlier, while contributing to the development of a science-based, locally tailored black cockatoo conservation action plan. Through these actions, the city aims to ensure evidence-based decision-making and the long-term protection of black cockatoo flocks within local government areas.
Thank you, Ms Amprimo, and thank you, Mr Carlson, for the questions. I'd now like to invite Ms Heidi Schmidt of South Perth, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you, and we look forward to your question.
Thank you. So I actually had a deputation / statement and a question. So is this just the question?
Okay, this is the question. I didn't know you had a statement, but I will make provision for that once we get to the statements part of the meeting.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Here we are in another year. My question is around community working groups for city projects. Many community members have long advocated for the city to involve residents more directly through collaborative working groups for key projects and initiatives, so sort of like we did for UGS. These would be different to the committees that operate now. Across Australia, data shows that including community reps in LGA working groups has consistently led to better community outcomes, stronger support and greater satisfaction among residents. Working groups can draw on the expertise and lived experience of residents who are already deeply engaged in areas such as urban greening spaces, wildlife and safety signage, library service changes and verge rewilding trials. Our community includes many active groups with specialist knowledge who are eager to collaborate constructively with the city. We want the city to reach in instead of the community consistently having to reach out to the city. Given the strong credentials, commitment and willingness within our community, will the city adopt a more inclusive approach by offering genuine opportunities for community members to participate and collaborate in shaping projects and works beyond token consultation, form filling or feedback provided only after decisions are made? We look forward to continuing to strengthen the relationship between the city, our councillors and the community this year, and we're keen to be actively involved, consulted and included. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Ms Ledger, can I send that one to you?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, Mr Mayor. The city values the contribution of our community and the strong interest people have in being involved and working with us to help shape a city of active spaces and beautiful places. Community members actively participate in a number of city advisory groups, including arts and the Inclusive Advisory Group, Community Safety and Crime Prevention, Public Health Advisory and the South Perth Youth Network. The city also works closely with community groups, schools, businesses and organisations to support our residents. This includes initiatives such as community planting days, environmental cleanups and volunteer programs. At present, around 70 volunteers support city facilities, including our libraries, the Old Mill and youth activities. The city support community capacity building through funding programs, volunteer coordination and recognition of initiatives such as the Community Citizen of the Year Awards. We also provide opportunities for participation throughout the year, including activities at our Senior Sit Centre. In addition, the city supports local sporting clubs by connecting them with training, funding and development opportunities. Community engagement occurs through the year using both formal and informal approaches. to inform our projects. One of them, as you touched on, our forms, programs and policies. Recent examples include extensive engagement on the urban greening strategy involving a deliberative panel of 42 community members, as well as a consultation on projects such as playground upgrades, the Moresby Street Activation Project and the Carrawara Pedestrian and Cycle Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Ledger, and thank you, Ms Schmidt, for the question.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Mr John Bassett of Como, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you, and we look forward to your question.
Thank you. I thought I'd start by asking a question that I haven't put through. The gentleman who sent through a question who wasn't here, is it possible that their question can be read to Council? Because I assume that the answer has been prepared.
I'm happy to do that. Would you like to stay seated there? Because there's three of them. Yep, all right. Okay, so these are the questions that had been submitted in advance by Mr Frank Roach of Como. The first question was as follows. The total proposed loan for the golf course redevelopment is now budgeted at $20.7 million, up 15% from the $18 million proposed in the major land transaction business plan, advertised for comment in late 2024. Has the deferred capital contribution the operator is to make been increased by 15% to $9.2 million? And is the city confident that $20.7 million is sufficient to complete the redevelopment? And I'll send that one to Ms Webster.
Thank you. Council approved a loan of $20.7 million as part of the 25-26 budget process. The loan is currently being obtained. The capital contribution referred to has been increased, and at this stage, with the current information at hand, the city is confident that development will be completed within budget.
Thank you, Ms Webster. The second question that Mr Roach asked was as follows. The budget allows for the municipal funds of $730,280 to be used for capital works at the golf course. It also implies a budgeted net profit of $500,000 from the golf course and budgets for principal repayments on golf course loans of $433,495. Does that mean that council rates collected are being inflated by $666,675 to subsidise the golf course? And once again, I'll send that to Ms Webster.
The 25-26 budget does provide for municipal funds of $730,280 to be used for capital works at the golf course, which includes pathways, construction of greens, pipe replacement and a new safety net. The budget also does provide for repayments on a golf course loan of $457,691. However, the net profit for the golf course in 25-26 is budgeted at $800,000. Not $500,000, and the city's budgeted revenue for the same year is approximately $86 million, of which $47,742,872 is from rates. So the answer to the last part of the question is no.
Thank you, Ms Webster. And the third and final question that had been submitted by Mr Roach reads as follows. This and previous year's budget papers and final accounts state half the annual net profit of the golf course goes to a capital reserve account and half goes to normal revenue. In 2022 to /2023, no funds were transferred to the capital reserve account, so no profit was made. In 2023/24, $370,712 was transferred. In 2024/25, $405,883 was transferred, and $500,000 is budgeted for 25/26. So the total average net profit, the last 2 years plus this year's budget, is $950,000 or $475,000 if half is retained for capital works. The council is going to borrow $20,700,000 at 4.7% and repay the principal and interest over 10 years. The total net profit won't service the annual interest of $972,900. It also won't service 12 million to I think it's 12.2 million over 10 years at 4.7% per annum, and he's got in brackets $1.53 million per annum close bracket. How will this loan be serviced and repaid without requiring the ratepayers to make up the shortfall? Then there's another note in brackets. I also note from the net profit of $776,195 that would have gone to normal revenue for, that's just 23/25, but that's not a financial year. It says 23/25. I'm just reading what's on the sheet. The city made capital repayments of $815,079 on golf course loans, so it already has a negative benefit of $38,884 for those 2 years, close bracket. Long question, Ms Webster.
In 22-23, profits were made, and the annual report refers to those profits. It talks about the course generating a $795,000 profit, $1,000 profit for 22-23, 124% increase from the previous year. Included in that figure are the results of the mini golf facility, the new addition to the course. The mini golf profit increased by 16,000 or 9% year on year. That's just referencing what was in the annual report. The prior year's profits could not be transferred to the reserve as the golf course reserve was first established in 23-24. The loan repayments in 25-26 will be $458,000, and the current outstanding loan on the golf course will be settled in 26-27 at the end of June, as only $112,000 will remain outstanding then. Further, the operator, as part of the redevelopment, will be returning the deferred capital contribution to the city plus a 3% premium. The city also expects the redevelopment of the building facilities should increase profits from the golf course, as it includes the double-storey driving range and padel courts in addition to what's already there.
Thank you, Ms Webster. And Mr Bassett, would you like to proceed with your question?
Thank you. It seems that those questions were worth getting on record. My first question is, the City of South Perth has established the Urban Greening Strategy and the Local Planning Policy 3.2 to address the decline of tree canopy in the local government area. It may be unfair to say this, but often councils will take a position that our job is done. We have a policy, we have a strategy. But I suggest that with the changes, council should be attempting to educate the community on what those changes are, and ideally to even engage in a discussion with the community about the reasons for increasing tree canopy in the area. So my question is, does the city have a strategy for actively communicating the implications of the strategy and policy, and that includes notification to all tree lopping companies which may operate within the LGA?
Thank you for the question. Ms Shaw, can I send that to you?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The city has a number of strategies for communicating the requirements for the policy, in that as the city engages with landowners, developers, planning consultants and arborists and tree loppers, it advises them of the policy. So that includes pre-lodgement meetings where we talk about different planning proposals. The city includes notifications on property inquiries for settlements advising of the policy. So that's for new landowners who may have bought into the district. The policy is also available on the website, and notification was posted on the city's communication channels following adoption. The Arboricultural Association of Western Australia has provided advice on its website that the City of South Perth has adopted the local planning policy for tree retention. The ArbWest website provides contractor information for arborists and tree service companies.
Thank you, Ms Shaw, and thank you, Mr Bassett, for the question.
My second question is in relation to the Hurlingham Living Stream plantings. It's a commendable project that has resulted in significant plantings made. In part, it would seem, looking at the council website, including over $600,000 in funding from the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions. Unfortunately, it appears that the plantings were not followed up by watering, with community members reporting that the majority have since died. So my question is, how does the council propose to recover from the plant deaths, and where will the funding come from? Following that, how will the city ensure that any consequent plantings are better protected?
Thank you for the question. I might send that one to Ms Amprimo, but I don't know if we got prior notice of that one. So if so, I'd forgive Ms Amprimo for taking that question on notice.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city was aware of some issues that took place with the contractor when the works were being undertaken. The contractor has acknowledged the role that they played in that part, and replacement plantings will be put in place. It wasn't relating to watering the issue. The plantings have been watered.
Thank you, Ms Amprimo, and thank you, Mr Bassett, for the questions. I'd now like to invite Ms Bronwyn David of South Perth, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Good evening and Happy New Year to the Council. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is also about trees. The polyphagous shot hole borer has had a devastating impact on trees in Perth, amongst a tree population that is already suffering from hotter summers and clearing for housing development. My first question is that the Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development has established a species susceptibility rating to determine how prone different tree species are to the polyphagous shot hole borer. How many trees in South Perth have a rating of high, very high or extreme on that species susceptibility rating? And what percentage is this of all the trees in the city?
Thank you for the question. Ms Amprimo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So of the trees that the city has recorded in its tree database, there are 322 trees that are rated extreme on the DPIRD susceptibility list, 3,296 rated very high, and 2,128 rated high. This equates to just over 18% of the trees recorded within the city's system.
Thanks very much. Would the city be able to estimate the value of the highly susceptible trees?
Thank you for the question. Ms Amprimo?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the city has not calculated the value of these trees at this time.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for the questions. Thank you, Ms Amprimo. I'd now like to invite Ms Veronica McPhail of South Perth, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you. I refer to the City's media release of November 2024 stating that community rangers would regularly use an e-bike to patrol the South Perth foreshore. As a regular user of the foreshore, I and others users have not observed a ranger using an e-bike in this area since the announcement. This raises questions about the actual use of the asset and its value for ratepayers. So my first question, is there a login, log out or usage register, and is it maintained for the e-bike? And if so, how frequently has it been used since purchase?
Thank you for the question. Ms Webstale.
Yes, there is a register which shows its usage. My apologies, I didn't see the second half of your question on how frequently has it been used, but it has been used on various days, and I can provide that on notice, the exact number of days.
Question two, for example, what is the odometer reading of the Community Ranger e-bike, given that the length of the foreshore is 7 kilometres long, and my understanding is they're to use it, they're there every day. So I would imagine the odometer reading would be quite huge.
Thank you for the question. Ms Webstale.
It's not being used daily. The current reading is 310 kilometres since purchase.
And your third question, Ms McPhail?
So can you explain the purpose of the e-bike and the locations where the e-bike has been deployed, and how does the city evaluate the value for money from this purchase?
Thank you for the question. Ms Webstale?
My understanding is that the primary purpose of the Ranger e-bike was to provide high visibility patrols and improve access to shared pathways and foreshore areas, and enable rangers to effectively cover larger areas that would be impractical on foot. A key focus of those patrols was to be dog lead compliance, particularly along high-use recreational corridors. When deployed, the bike was used mainly along the Sam James Mitchell Park foreshore and also for patrols within Neil McDougall Park, Sandon Park and Andre Thompson Reserve. And the city hasn't evaluated the purchase in...
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Webstale, and thank you, Ms McPhail, for the questions. I'd now like to invite Ms Theodora Papadimitos, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, of Waterford. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to talk today and ask some questions. My questions have to do with the City of South Perth's Urban Greening Strategy program, which was adopted by the Council at the July 2025 Ordinary Council meeting. The strategy states that implementation plans will be developed to guide on-ground delivery with measurable targets and performance indicators to ensure accountability and track records over time. Question 1. It has now been 6 months since the adoption of the strategy. Does the city have a dedicated team or individual working on the implementation plan?
Thank you. Ms Amprema?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the city has a team of internal officers and external resources for developing the implementation plan.
Question 2. When does the city anticipate that the implementation plan will be released?
Thank you for the question. Ms Amprema?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the implementation plan will be released following community consultation.
Thank you, Ms Amprema, and thank you, Ms Papadimitos, for the questions.
Okay, thank you for your time.
I'd now like to invite Ms Gemma Pepper of Como, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you. The microphone is yours, and we look forward to your questions.
Great, thank you. Hello. So my question this evening, from my research, the City of South Perth has consistently claimed to be committed to addressing climate change. And I've noted over the last 9 years, the city's website has noted that the city is currently reviewing its sustainability reporting framework, which will inform the tools used to measure energy emissions and water data. From the website, I understand that the city has completed a review of the climate change strategy 2010 to 2015 and is establishing emissions reduction targets. Can you advise if and when the strategy and the emissions reduction targets will be made public? What actions are currently being undertaken to reduce the city's carbon emissions? When the sustainability reporting framework will be finalised and published? And how the city will be measuring its emissions to track its progress.
Thank you for the question. Ms Amprema?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the actions being taken to reduce the city's carbon emissions include the following: transition of internal combustion engines to hybrid powered light and heavy fleet, transition of internal combustion to battery power for small plant, transition from internal combustion engines to battery-powered mowers, transition from internal combustion engines to battery-powered power tools, transition from standard to LED lighting at city facilities, upgrade and renewal of energy-efficient heating, ventilation and an air conditioning plant, installation of solar-powered public open space lighting, upgrade of building management systems to improve energy efficiency of heating, ventilation and air conditioning plant. Solar powers installed in the following facilities: Manning Bowling Club, Salter Point Scouts, Como Bowling Club, South Perth Bowling Club, Neil McDougall Kindy, John McGrath Pavilion, Manning Community Centre, the Operations Centre, the Civic and Administration Building and South Perth Library. And for measuring emissions, the city has systems in place for measuring emissions relating to the Civic and Administration Building, the Operations Centre, South Perth Library, Manning Community Centre, John McGrath Pavilion, which are all high energy consumption sites. and the installation of solar panels on these sites has collectively reduced carbon emissions by approximately 759 tonnes since commissioning. All of our high energy consumption sites are monitored for levels of carbon emissions through the Azility Smarter Energy Management software platform.
Thank you, Ms Zampremo. Your second question, Ms Pepper?
Sorry, there was a couple of bits to that that got missed in the flow. Was there a date as to when the strategy and the emissions reduction targets will be made public?
Ms Zampremo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The staff member who deals with this area wasn't available today, so I'll have to take that on notice.
All right, thank you. Ms Pepper?
Okay. Can you advise how many development applications relating to the removal or damaging of trees have been received by the city since the tree retention policy, local planning policy 3.2, was implemented, and what has been the outcome of those applications?
Thank you for the question. Ms Shaw.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The city currently has 8 development applications specifically for tree damaging activity to a regulated tree under assessment that are yet to be determined. They will be determined by council. The City Council or Development Assessment Panel has, however, determined or made recommendations on 5 development applications for other proposals that also had regulated trees on site as follows. The Development Assessment Panel approved an application for 107 multiple dwellings, which resulted in the removal of 3 regulated trees. The City refused, under delegated authority, an application for additions and alterations to a group dwelling, which involved removal of 1 regulated tree and pruning of another regulated tree. The City approved an application for 4 group dwellings, which resulted in 2 regulated trees being removed, being a sweet gum tree and a black locust tree, both of which were supported by an arborist for removal given the structural issues with the tree. Council supported an application for a group dwelling that resulted in the removal of 3 regulated trees, and the City approved an application which resulted in the removal of 1 regulated tree, being a Queensland box tree, which an arborist confirmed was dead, and a replacement tree was proposed and approved. The above does not include data as to the applications that have been lodged and not accepted or rejected due to insufficient information regarding regulated trees on site.
Thank you, Ms Shaw, and thank you, Ms Pepper, for the questions.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Ms Gemma Spencer of Como, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you, and we look forward to your questions.
Can I just make a general comment when I start, before I start? Is it possible when people are speaking that they could speak more into the microphones? Because there's a couple of people in the audience that have got hearing issues, including myself. And if they talk down or not into the microphone, we can't hear properly.
All right, are we talking about city staff, me, people who are asking the questions, or all 3?
Just everybody. Just so if people can be conscious of talking to them, so that people can hear into them. You know, when you talk into the microphone, so we can hear properly. Because otherwise, we're battling to hear it. I've got a hearing aid, and I'm still battling to hear the some of the comments when people are talking like a bit down.
I'll do my best and encourage others to do the same.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm referring to my phone. I didn't print out my questions. My questions will be in relation to the 6 saplings that were removed from the South Perth foreshore. My first question is this. When the saplings were removed, a motion was put forward that stated a level of replanting would be done by the council. I would like to know if that replanting has been done, and if not, when it will be done.
Thank you for the question. Ms Zampremo.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The council resolution requested the CEO to include an adjustment of an additional $30,000 expenditure within the operational budget in the mid-year budget review. If this is endorsed by council when it's considered later this month, the planting will be undertaken in May or June of this year.
Thank you. And my second question is, have the councillors had their training day that was suggested to help them deal with contentious tree matters going forward?
Thank you for the question. Ms Zampremo.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The council resolution requested a councillor workshop to be held no earlier than the 1st of January 2026 to develop a policy on planting trees on public land. This workshop has not yet taken place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Zampremo, and thank you, Ms Spencer, for the questions. And I'd now like to invite Mr Oliver Crossthwaite of South Perth, if you'd like to come to the microphone. Welcome to you, and we look forward to your questions.
Mayor, councillors, staff and residents, my questions concern the proposal to remove 80 or so trees from the reserve on which the Royal Perth Golf Club is located. As a C-class reserve set aside for public recreation and which is leased from the City of South Perth to the Royal Perth Golf Club, it makes little sense that the City should approve the removal of around 80 mature trees on the whim of some flimsy rationales such as an apparent safety issue of golfers being hit by golf balls ricocheting off trees too close to the fairway, and a tricky assertion by the club that it will replace the lost trees with 8,000 trees and shrubs. My question 1. How can the City justify giving approval to the removal of these mature trees when it is at the expense of 1, a community asset, 2, leads to a significant reduction in the robust tree canopy, 3, is to the detriment of active animal habitats including breeding hollows and food and roosting sites, and at the cost of the local environment at large and on the basis of such flimsy justification?
Thank you for the question. Ms Webster.
Council will be considering the application from the Royal Perth Golf Club for approval of the Stage 3 works at the February Council meeting.
Thank you. Question 2. Why did the City officers recommend approval for the removal of 80 or so mature trees from the reserve when their removal would contradict the stated objectives and pillars of our urban greening strategy, which are 1. To safeguard the City's vegetation, 2. To work collaboratively with stakeholders to protect, enhance and manage urban greening, and 3, to strengthen the role of stakeholders as caretakers of local ecological systems.
Thank you for the question. Ms Webster.
Thank you. The answer to this question is the same as the one before, in that Council will consider the application for approval of the Stage 3 works at the February Council meeting, and a report with an officer recommendation will be released with the agenda, which has not been released yet.
Thank you. Question 3. Given the golf club's assertion that it will replace the 80 mature trees with 8,000 trees and shrubs, end quote, when in fact the vast majority of these plantings would only be of native grasses, monocots, for example turf grasses, and shrubs, and little actual tree replacement. Why is the City tending to fall for this ruse, given the obvious deception which is...
I probably do have to jump in there, Mr Crosthwaite. I probably shouldn't be allowing language like ruse. You may disagree with the proposal, but perhaps I can get you to reword that one slightly.
Deception?
Try again.
I think the meaning...
Go for the proposal, I think is what you're saying.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, I've lost my... given the obvious deception, which is implying the City, its residents and wider community will be better off at a time of severe contraction of our urban tree canopy.
Again, I'm not sure deception is an appropriate word under the circumstances, but I'll put the question through to Ms Amprimo.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The City's urban greening strategy recognises the need to create biodiversity. Planting native grasses and shrubs is a key component of achieving this diverse habitat.
Thank you, Ms Amprimo, and thank you, Mr Crosthwaite, for the questions.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was the questions that we've received notice from. Are there any other public questions from the gallery for this evening? Yes, Ms Ord, if you'd like to come to the microphone, welcome to you. And we look forward to your questions, although they may be taken on notice, given that the officers haven't had any prior notice.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't intending to ask any questions, but a couple of the previous responses caught my attention. Regarding the Hurlingham stream replanting, you mentioned that it was a contractor issue. So with the replanting, will that be at contractor cost and not ratepayer cost?
Ms Amprima?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. And previously you mentioned the UGS implementation plan, community consultation. When will that be occurring, please?
Ms Amprima, is that one for you?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. So we anticipate that that's likely to be put out to the community in March, but some of that is contingent upon feedback that we may get from council as well.
Cool, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms Amprima, and thank you, Ms Ord. Folks, any further questions from the floor? Yes, Ms McPhail, although I do have to keep people to 3 questions apiece, so I'll just check how many you've got. You can, but I'm limiting it, as in prior years, to 3 questions per resident. I think you've asked your 3 already. Yeah, okay. All right. Anyone else who hasn't already asked 3 questions? No, okay. In that case, we'll move on to statements or motions. Understand that we did receive a statement from Ms Bronwyn David of South Perth. So, Ms David, if you'd like to come back to the microphone. And I suppose I better set some sort of a time limit, so we'll keep them to 5 minutes apiece.
Right, I haven't
Hopefully
read
that's,
this, so
that's okay with
hopefully
you.
that works.
All right, thanks.
Good evening again. Thank you for this opportunity. You've probably all noticed that Perth is suffering from a shortage of housing at the same time as this council has concerns about spending. The cost of housing is rising, the pressure on renters is increasing, and parts of our neighbourhood sit empty. Blocks of land that contribute nothing to our community except weeds, havens for rats, and the occasional dump of rubbish. I've had the misfortune not to have been born in this city and instead arrived only about 14 years ago, and I can point to empty blocks that have sat there for all that time, contributing nothing positive to our area. The phenomenon is colloquially known as land banking. Empty blocks mean there's a home or homes missing or commercial areas not being developed. It means less residents, less commercial activity, less gardens, and because these blocks have usually been clear-felled, it means less trees. Other councils in Western Australia are already using vacant land differential rates. The City of Vincent, as an example, adopted a 25% higher rate in the dollar for vacant land in 25-26, with unanimous support at council. This was done to encourage property owners to take action to address the growing number of vacant lots that negatively impact local amenity. The City of Vincent also stated that the decision also supports efforts to ease the state's housing shortage by prompting development. Similarly, Joondalup's rating structure since 2008 already charges a significantly higher rate on vacant property, almost double the rate in the dollar compared with improved residential land, explicitly to discourage holding land idle and to incentivise development. Bassendean, as of last year, has a clear distinction in their rates, with unimproved or vacant land attracting a much higher rate, over 50% more, than improved residential land. The reason is to encourage development, as in the town's words, the town considers the development of all vacant rateable land to be in the best interests of the community to stimulate growth and development and improve the vibrancy of the town. The City of Perth itself has long set a higher differential rate on vacant land to discourage land banking and minimise the risks of antisocial behaviour on long-held empty blocks. The differential was recently increased to about 60% of the residential rate, over 60%. The city has stated, by encouraging development of vacant land, the city supports economic growth. The use of the higher differential rate is to discourage the holding of vacant land and also minimises opportunities for problems such as littering, graffiti and antisocial behaviour which may occur on long-held vacant land parcels. Vacant land is not contributing to the vibrancy, the safety, the economic health of our neighbourhood in the way it should. Land that sits idle doesn't house families or essential workers. It doesn't contribute to local shops, parks or schools through active use, and it allows pests to proliferate and attracts litter. Increasing the rates on vacant land sensibly, transparently, and with appropriate thresholds doesn't hurt people trying to build a home. It influences those who are content to hold land purely for speculative gain, often at the expense of all of us. Other councils have shown it can be done thoughtfully. Vincent even paired their higher rate with a vacant land concession for properties vacant for less than 2 years, recognising legitimate development timelines while still nudging behaviour. This isn't about penalising anyone who's genuinely progressing a build or working through planning. It's about fairness, about utilising a tool that's already available under the Local Government Act, and about aligning our council's priorities with the livability we all say that we want. More homes, more active places, more value.
30 seconds remaining.
Not empty blocks. Raising more rates will not solve the housing crisis, but it will allow the city to, for example, open the library for longer, allowing those who, for example, are without adequate climate controls in their lives to enjoy the air conditioning. It means the city can plant $30,000 worth of sedges where the 6 saplings were without compromising other aspects of the budget. It means the mayor can keep his car and you can keep access to the drinks fridge. We should not view everything through a lens of cost cutting when raising more income can have positive flow-ons.
And that's time. But if there was anything less, please feel free to email it to all the elected members. Thank you for your statement.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Ms Heidi Schmidt of South Perth. Understand you'd like to make a statement as well. Welcome back and we look forward to your statement.
This is probably the chicken and the egg, and I don't know which came first, but this probably should have come before the other one. So it's really just a statement about some positive achievements that have been buzzing in the community. So we have a new community group that is for the whole community. It's not about one issue, a problem, a special interest. And these are the things that we've been hearing about, and I just wanted to provide that feedback to the city. Completion of phase 1 of the Living Stream. The community is pleased to see the completion of phase 1 of the Living Stream. While the loss of a significant number of flora is concerning, as we've heard tonight, the initiative overall continues to offer significant long-term benefits. Tree planting along Tech Park on Kent Street I've heard so much about that one. Everybody's going, have you seen all the trees? It's just amazing. So the new trees planted along Kent Street near Tech Park are a welcome addition. Tree planting across our public open spaces is a major topic of community interest too, parks and reserves. As our population grows and housing infill increases across the city with the growing cranes that we see, ensuring the protection and enhancement of public open space remains a priority. Recycling centre and reuse shop, I've been there myself and got some pretty funky things. The recycling centre and reuse shop have quickly become recognised as valuable and popular community resources. Every time I've been there, there have been truckloads of people there. Tree protection policy. It's positive and encouraging that the city has finally adopted a tree protection policy aligned with the Walga model. Clear communication with residents and ratepayers will be important, as some confusion has circulated within the community, including online misinformation, and unfortunately we have some sitting members here who have made some of those statements. Community engagement events. Events such as the Angelo Street Festival, Como Country Fair, Manning Laneways and other community-focused activities continue to bring people together. These events offer something for everyone, and we hope they continue to grow into landmark celebrations for our community. And I didn't write this bit, but it's specifically for local community, not the sort of touristy things that we used to do a few years ago. So this is actually a really good point of communication in the community, that it's our rates for us, not for the tourists. So we congratulate the city on these key achievements and look forward to even more collaborative engagement with the community this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the statement. Okay, are there any further statements or any motions from the public gallery? Gone. Okay. All right, so please be advised that the minutes and, well, we didn't make any decisions, but the minutes from tonight's meeting will be included in the agenda for consideration at the ordinary council meeting to be held Tuesday, 24th March 2026. I shouldn't say we made any decisions, we approved the finances. That was good. Yep. Okay, that wraps up item 6. Item 7 is closure. So before I close the meeting, I'd like to thank everyone for your attendance and participation this evening. I now close the Electors General Meeting at 1 minute past 7 p.m. Thank you all and good night.